Randy, as a country, and in this particular thing I'm going to talk about, myself and Kwadwo Poku, we had issues. We dealt with this issue those days when he was not a presidential candidate and he became the thing I'm going to talk about. The thing I'm going to talk about now.
I don't know, so I don't.
You remember that? You see, part of ECG's problem is because of, even though there's corruption and other things, and this Hoptel thing I've just given to you is clear corruption. Beyond just that.
But let me I've never spoken on Hoptel. I don't know. Hoptel I've never spoken on it because I don't have the details.
Yes, so that's okay. That's okay. Beyond that, you see, there were some other aspects of ECG that needed capital injection.
Yes.
As we speak, I always sit there and ask myself, when Bawumia, who was supposed to be the person who was supervising the management of this economy, you had a situation where you were going to hand over the access of Electricity Company of Ghana to another company, a third party. As part of the approvals that were given by Parliament, Parliament says that the people who had won the bid should provide a bank guarantee from a Class A bank. As per that, with all bank guarantees, there's always a requirement for cash deposit of about $350 million. In this case, the truth of the matter is that because these people did not have that capacity to deal with this, you didn't even come back to Parliament. You chaired a meeting at Flagstaff House that included the chief of staff, that included people from MIDA, that included the CEO then and the board chairman of what they call it, ECG, to change a bank guarantee to an insurance guarantee.
Leave Bawumia out of this. You had
Look,
a conversation.
Randy, I'm coming. I'm coming.
Stop this NDC chorus and put Bawumia in PDS.
You see,
Bawumia is not.
Did he chair that meeting or not?
Forget it.
He did not.
He did not chair any meeting that changed anything. He did not. He did not change anything.
Look, listen, Kwadwo, we discussed this.
Yes.
Today you are changing your mind.
Kwadwo, you are being very disruptive.
I'm not. But
Yes.
Hold on.
Let me finish.
You might be uncomfortable.
No, I'm not.
Hold on. You might be uncomfortable with what you said. Please.
So you then had a situation where, you had 350 million, so they didn't do. You change a bank guarantee into an insurance guarantee that had very loose terms. Even with that, you could not procure a proper insurance, and then because on the basis of that, we lost $190 million. You see, people always look at the $190 million as the case. That is not it. Because of this, the state consistently, and ASAP had published a report that suggests that, look, under recoveries alone, mounting to 13.6 billion, that government of Ghana needed to have coughed up to give to ECG to be able to pay the players who have provided services for the generation of power that you and I use. 13.6 billion. Do you know what 13.6 billion can do in other sectors of the economy? So people just always look at just the 190 million. But what they do not realize, that this 190 million has a cascading effect that today myself and you are doing these things. And so, look, Randy, our problem was created, it was self-inflicted. Everybody knew. And that's the last point I'm going to deal with when he talked about this doomsday and other things. Everybody knew that yes, the NDC, Ghana went under serious excruciating pain when it came to issues of load shedding in Ghana. But this was a problem that was inherited by John Mahama. How did he inherit it? Over the period, we simply did not invest in adding capacity to our descent. 2, we did not have security of fuel. Because at that time, we were only depending on Nigeria with the 110 million scarf agreement that we had with WAPCO that we were getting from NGAS. That's what we're getting. John Mahama came, he took responsibilities. 1, they guaranteed security of gas, and that's how we brought the 1 billion investment of Atwabu. 2, we increased our generation capacity. 3, we had a legacy debt that had been accumulated over many years, and this was not a debt that was just for the power. You see, all these figures we are mentioning is just the power subsector. This was a legacy debt that encompassed whether it was BOST, whether it was TOR, whether it was all the energy sector. 2.4 billion. Then we told ourselves, and this was the point you were making, that at the end of 2015, as part of the budget, we introduced the Energy Sector Levy Act. And the Energy Sector Levy Act was supposed to guarantee a sum accrual that in 5 years, the 2.4 billion would have retired that particular debt. Today, we have extended the tenure of what they call it, the ESLA receivables. 2, we have not really been able to settle that debt. We will only get to know the length of the frog after it has died, and that's after December 7th. That is when we will know. You see, the reason why we know the ones of the IPPs is because they are private players, private sector players, because they are being owed, and so they need to start shouting. That's why we know that, for example, they owe about 1.6 billion to the the IPPs. That's why we know that they have not paid less than 5% to the OCTP partners. That's why we know that WAPCO is not being paid. So those ones, because they are private players, they are talking about it. The debt that is seated at GNPC, the debt that is seated at BOSS as a result of this goal for oil, we do not know because there's no transparency. How on earth? You remember between under the NDC, even as we're talking, if we wanted to know, and Kwadwo Poku knows this because myself and him were in the same sector. If you wanted to know for today what was the generation capacity, how many generating plants were running, and other things, there was a dashboard, a grid code that was available to everybody. Every Ghanaian who wanted to, it was available. You had access to it. Today, it is written on it confidential. Whenever you see the report, it's there confidential. You have no access to it.
Why?
They don't want to, so that Kwadwo Poku can come and tell you that they have paid 5 billion. There's no transparency.
Can I explain what
happened? Yes.
The developer of that app moved abroad. You have this information.
I don't.
Let's
give us the information.
It's proprietary issue. It's there. It sits. You see, what happened was that there was real-time online app that you could go to Gridco and assess and look at what is happening in real time. The developer of the app left Gridco and went to a company abroad. So it's a proprietary issue. When he left, he wanted to have a proprietary because he developed it, right? So it's been shut down because Gridco and the guy has not been able to agree on the proprietary of that app. And that's you can find out from anybody from
that. So how come that? No. So how come that situational reports
of
Gridco, the situational report of Gridco is entitled confidential?
Is it now titled confidential?
Confidential.
I don't get a copy of that. But what I'm saying to you, the app me and you talk about, right? But Randy, let me quickly clarify a few things that my brother talks about. In November, Early Power has been paid 2.4 million USD. September, they've been paid $1.4 million USD. October, they were paid 183,000 USD. These are public.
How much are they owed?
I don't have that. I did not ask that. But let me clarify a few things my brother talks about. Look, Car Power was doing 50, not because they have signaled to shut down. Car Power had a valve problem, a pressure valve problem. As I speak to you now, Car Power is running all 24 units. They are back full stream because the OEM guy came in on Sunday and fixed the problem. Okay, these are very verifiable facts. Car Power was shut down, was running low because their pressure valve was faulty. GMPC had all the parts, but the engineer tells you when he can come into the country. The engineer came in on Sunday. As I speak to you now, all 24 units of Car Power is working. You can verify, right? So some of these things are not indication of somebody shutting down. The biggest problem that we have, like I said earlier, is that there are a lot of moving parts. And I agree that the sector is indebted. I agree with my brother on everything he has said about ECG. And I honestly feel sad because after PDS, this government should have taken a second bite at PSP, private sector participation in ECG. It didn't. Because some people within ECG always tell you that, oh, why can't we do it? If the white person can do it, somebody comes in, what are they coming? They're coming to use us now to do the work. You heard that over and over, that why take it and give it to private sector, we can do the work. Clearly, they've not been able to. Because what is needed is not the expertise they have. It's the injection of capital by the shareholder.
But if we can defy ECG's internal operations and give a sole source contract to Haptel, why do we continue to harp on an internal resistance on the reason why we have not done a PSP?
I am 100% against it. Like I said, I don't speak on Haptel because I don't have the
No, you don't get the point I'm making.
I agree.
I am saying that
the union
decided, despite all
people
that,
have done other things without the union agreeing.
All so that you went ahead and did Haptel.
I honestly don't see why in the last 8 years, right? And you asked the question, why is the debt 2.4 billion and now it's still high? I said that when the Jakun did this interview and did his vetting, that what we should have done in January 7th, 2017 was to stop the bleeding. right? Stop the accumulation of debt. And I've said this multiple times. When you stop the accumulation, by basically metering all the MMDCs and all the stuff that needs to be done, the PSP at the last mile, which is the retail, and bring in private sector participation. Something we pushed for as far back as 2017. My brother is aware. Koseka, we pushed for that. Ajaku said no. Since we are going to do private sector participation, let the private sector who is coming in to take the engineering side also have the retail end for about 3 years, right? But East Energy Commission have done a lot of work on the retail concession, and we thought that would have saved Kofi Bento, myself, Richard Nyama. We all pushed that. Let East Energy Commission go ahead and do the last mile, which is the retail, and that would have solved a lot of these problems. But I agree with my brother. ECG is the problem.
Government is the problem.
No, but ECG, government owes ECG.
Yes.
So ECG is the problem. We need to take away the retail end, bring in private sector participation, resolve these issues, and basically move on.